everyone, welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and our weekly Cash or Trash, where we look at the hot comics of this week and we make predictions sure to go wrong. So let's see who we got hanging out with us today on Super Bowl Sunday. You know I'm rocking my Chiefs stuff today. We have a man unruly in here tailgating early. I appreciate it, my friend. I'm not sure what comic man Andy was going for, but sure, peace is good. So GT Key coming in third. Slacking a little bit, and the cat is already mad at me, but the dog is probably right there, so I'm not going to open the door just yet. We'll see. We got my man playing in Arizona. What is going on? Yeah. We got, check meow rays. There's a lot of meow going on. Not really, but we'll see. We got my man Deep House. What is going on? Happy Super Bowl Sunday. Oh, yes, for sure. Jay Hood is painting. Always feel honored to provide him a little distraction while he's painting, or just help him make the time pass as he goes. I don't have a Super Pro. That's all about Bearded. That is all about Bearded. So, Big O, what is going on? Happy to have you here for sure. And my man Perry is in the house, as is Manic. What is going on, everyone? Hope you're all having a good Sunday. I hope you're having a nice day. I'll tell you how my day's going in about 9 hours. About 9 o'clock, 9:30 tonight. I don't know. So, with that, what are we here for? We're not here to talk about the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about comic books. Because, that's why you guys are here. And for anybody that is new to the channel, what this is on Saturdays, I put out a look back video where I look back at the hot comics from 6 months ago, and I make predictions, and I see how they performed in the market, what factors have caused them to drop in value or stay in value or whatever. Usually it's drop, but we'll get into that as we talk about these books. But on Sundays, I do Cash or Trash, where I talk about the hot comics of this week that are on the list right now and make predictions about how I think they're going to perform, which books you should chase right now, which ones you shouldn't. And then we keep track of those, and we put those out on our Look Back show later. Hey, Pieface, what is going on? So how do I make my predictions? Well, I throw them into categories. And those categories are straight cash, homie, books that I think are going to continue to increase in value. Now, sometimes I talk about books in two different ways on this front. Books that are, I might say some things like, and I'll be back right now, but long-term and straight cash, I have to do that quite a bit because it can be a really good book that's just a little overpriced right now, but long-term, you'll be okay even if you buy it at these prices. Worth it, books that are probably priced about right. 6 months from now, they're going to be going in the same area. If you buy it, you're probably good. There's no reason to worry about it. You might not gain much, but you're not really going to lose. We got our I'll Be Backs. These are books that are also probably not too far from where they need to be priced, but if you're patient, you can probably get a deal and do a little better than the current prices. We got our It's a Traps, and we have multiples of these every week, and these are books that are going to drop 30, 40, 50% in value over the next 6 months, and we have multiples of these every week for sure. Then we also have our Dumpster Fires. These books are going to drop 60, 70, 80% in value, and we usually have 1 to 2 of these every week as well. So those are my main categories. Occasionally I'll throw in whatever. Book's not really going for that much. Not sure why I made the list. We'll occasionally throw in a come on, man. Just like, what is our logic behind chasing this particular book? And of course, occasionally we'll throw in it doesn't matter who you are, because sometimes we chase characters that we know aren't going to matter long term. We got Rowan Geek in here. Okay, Miss Cat, I will let you in. Hopefully the dog doesn't get all mad. I let you in and then shut the door in his face. He's probably gonna be mad, but goodness gracious! See, funny thing for a cat that's literally ignored me all morning. So now you want attention. So you're going live now. I want attention. So, and I appreciate the sub. That is awful nice of you. So with that, let's get into this week's list. Let's see what we got. So once again, no Tom video. So if you guys don't know, I always look at the CBSI Hot Top 10 for the week, and then the Comic Tom Key Collector Hottest Trending Comics of the Week. Not their back issue video, the trending comics of the week. Although they're kind of very similar. I mean, like some of the back issues you could argue should be on here. So Tom's list is always a little weird in that front. There's a cat. Hey, cute kitty cat. She's normally very chill, but for some reason she does not like closed doors. She does not like closed doors. Yeah, as long as the doors are open, she just ignores me. As long as she can come in when she wants and leave when she wants, she's fine. She does not like being cut off. So I forgot what I was saying before I got distracted by the cat, but yeah. So once again, Tom's video is not out. So what I have done is the first 10 books we're going to talk about are the CBSI Hot Top 10. The final books I'm going to talk about are some of the books pulled from the trending 20 that Tom pulls his list of 10 from. So if you don't know, he gets his list from Key Collector. Key Collector puts out a trending 20 list every week. And Tom pulls 10 books from that he talks about on his video. And those are the books I use normally for this. Tom's video is not out. I'm not going to wait for it. Last week, I made predictions based on how many books overlap between the two lists and that kind of stuff. So we'll get into how I did that when we get to those. But first, we got the 10 CBSI books. We got Jerome in the house. What is going on? I appreciate the luck. Yes, this is exactly right. Yeah, for sure. Yes, at the moment she's just sucking up attention. All right, so let's get into this. First up, a book I know my friend John, who's not in here, but would absolutely love, because he's just the biggest Scott Snyder fan. I think he's actually read this and despised it, but he is not a big Scott Snyder fan. But we got Witches #1 from 2014. Scott Snyder, Jock on this one, and this has been optioned by Amazon for an animated series. That's why this hit the list. We got $20 to $30 for raw copies. 9.8 is going for 100 to 125, which is all pretty cool. But this is a series. Who knows when animated series? You're probably looking at a couple of years at least for them to put it together. This is easily borderline trap for me. Just because typically on these things, animated series don't always do all that great. God, you're driving me crazy. Sit down. But we'll go with I'll Be Back. This is a borderline trap for me. But yeah, we know this is not going to happen anytime soon. Out of the camera. We'll sit you down here. So yeah, I would just be patient on this one. This one's been on the list. It was optioned previously a while ago. We got a series announcement now. It had jumped when they optioned it. Came crashing back down, and then now we got a series announcement, so it's jumping again. I would definitely wait and be patient because we're probably at least a couple years out on Witches. And yeah, Unruly saying solid read. Love this book. Just hated the coloring. I have never read this book. So yeah. Basically, that seems fairly typical for a lot of these books. We're going to keep going, and then they don't. So next up, we got Butterfly #1. Also supposedly option for an Amazon show. I did not catch whether or not this was a animated series or full series or what's going on here. I'll be honest, I've never heard of this book before this. This is also from 2014. But raw copies on this sucker are up to $80 plus. 9.8 is going for 200 on an option of a series maybe some of you have heard of. I've never heard of. Doesn't give me a lot of confidence. $80 on option news, unless it's like Invincible or Walking Dead. Like option books don't hold that kind of value generally. Even like The Boys has had trouble holding that kind of value consistently. Yeah. Oh, Steven. If Unruly has never heard of it, and maybe that's why it's going for so much, because there's not a lot of copies, so it's hard to find. Although I looked it online, and it didn't look like there was that few copies. Yeah. Nobody has heard of it. Yes. So it was on both lists. Well, it was on the Key Collector trending as well. So yeah, we put this in the dumpster. I don't see any way this thing holds $80. For sure. Yeah. I think that's probably what's prompted to be that high. It's just got to be hard to find, but it doesn't seem like it's that hard to find. We'll see. Mousetrap. He's going to say Mousetrap. Small Trap. All right. Well, you know, never even heard of the publisher. There you go. So So it could be super. It maybe it's super hard to find. Maybe that allows it to stay a little better. I still think this is probably a dumpster fire. At 80 plus, if it's a $30 book, it's still a dumpster fire in 6 months because that's a 60-70% drop. So, which is what I think it's probably going to be. Nice. I would be moving that sucker if it's 80 bucks, but that's just me. All right, next we're gonna move into covers. We got Static Shadows of Dakota #1. The Oliver Coipel 1 in 100 foil. So I took the image of the non-foil just so you could really see the cover. But the foil version of this, which is the 1 in 100, is going for 150 to 180 on the Static Shock cover, which is just, yeah, for sure. So it is definitely a beautiful cover, but it's a 1 in 100. It's only going for 150 to 180, which is not a good sign. Although 1 in 100s don't always follow the rules. Like the rules, it's got to be like the triple 1 in 100s. It's more like double on a 1 in 100 to really like know it's going to sustain. You're back again. You got down for a minute. The other thing is the foils. These DC foils have not had a tendency to hold either. Hold value. Like people like, oh, they're cool, and then nobody wants them later. Ain't a fan of the foil. I know my man Andy is. Yeah, I know I say his name wrong, but he's a solid artist. This is a really good cover. But at 150 to 180, I think this is probably a trap. My guess is even if it's a $100 book, $100 book in 6 months, which I think is a good chance of, it's a trap. And yeah, so that's where I would put this sucker. He's like, this is a bear trap. There you go. Maybe long term. Maybe. I'm glad that they're doing Milestone stuff again. I am very glad about that. There's some really good characters in Milestone. I think Static's a really good character. I just don't think this is going to hold up for this kind of value. Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of people that are like you, Steven, that just don't variants. You're not going to pay that much for variants on their own. And I totally get that. There are people that love them, though. That's why they sustain those kind of values sometimes. But I don't think this one holds this kind of value longer term. Next, we got Amazing Spider-Man #19. Not that you would tell from the Glada Parasinato 1 in 100. Not that you could tell that this is an Amazing Spider-Man book. I do not understand why they're doing these Disney homages to Avengers and FF on Spider-Man books. Why wasn't the Avengers homage on an Avengers book? They're making Avengers right now. Why wasn't the Fantastic Four homage on a Fantastic Four book? They're printing Fantastic Four books right now. Instead, they're putting them on ASM. I don't understand that decision. But we talked about this before. These Disney variants tend to do pretty well, but this 1 in 100 is only doing 130 to 140. I don't think this one crashes. They're all black and white. They're doing them all black and white. I appreciate that. She's a good cat. She's, going to be 18 very soon, so she's an old lady, but, she still gets around pretty well. So, yeah, I don't understand. Maybe they feel like the only way people are going to order 100 copies is ASM, but you went out now. Now she wants back out. Go on then. Go on. I know, you just don't want the closed door. It's not that you want in or out. You don't want the closed door. So, yeah, I don't understand why they're doing this. These Disney ones tend to do pretty well, but I still think this is an I'll be back. It only 130, 140 on a 1 in 100. That's not really a very good sign. It's just not. And maybe I should put this as a trap also. But the other one I put as a trap because I think it's higher. I think they both end up around ratio. I think they both end up $90, $100. So I put this as an I'll be back. You could argue this is a trap also. And what it's going for. It's definitely a cash grab from Marvel, what it was. Yeah. The color versions look better. I think I'd rather have the color versions, honestly. So, yeah. You're correct. I think you're right. The higher the variant, I don't. Are the others not a ratio at all? Are the color ones not a ratio at all? I forget. These are the ones that are hitting the list. Yeah, I I don't understand why Marvel does it that way. I would definitely be back on this one. I would not be chasing it right now. Next, we got Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants, #1. Art Adams, 1 in 50, going for 75 to 80. So, barring whatever you think of the story, barring whatever you think of the cover, 75 to 80 on a 1 in 50 is not a good sign. That is not a good sign. That is a book that typically will end up under ratio, which means it's a trap. And I'll be honest, I know like a couple of my friends went and got this cover. My friend John, my friend Justin both went and got this cover. They're big Storm fans. I'm not, I'll fully get rid of my biases. I am not a huge Art Adams fan. I think his art does not work for me more often than it does. So maybe it's just my biases, but I don't actually, of all the Storm covers I've seen in the last couple of years, and there's been a ton of really good ones, this is not one that I would put anywhere near that list. I am meh. Yeah. Uh, see, yeah, I don't know. There's something about it. Yeah, I think it's a trap. Nobody wants it. X-Men. I mean, if you're a big Storm fan, I could get one, but not at. I'd be patient. I think you can get it. I think you can get it for a lot less later. Next, last of our covers, at least from the CBSI list. Red Goblin, #1, the In-Hyuk Lee 1 in 100 Virgin variant. And we just talked about 1 in 100 going for 150, 180 being a trap because it's not high enough. And 130 to 140 also being an I'll be back or a trap because it's not high enough. This 1 in 100 is going for 110 to 140. And yeah, I think it's also, I think it's going to end up like 70. I don't think there's enough. Like we had that whole Red Goblin thing a few years ago. Everybody went nuts for those books. None of those books are worth anything now. And I realize this is all about Normie and not about Norman. But I think that ultimately hurts it in the long term as well. I don't think this book. I mean, it's a cool Goblin cover, but there's been variations of this done multiple times. I feel like there's a lot of these very similar Goblin-esque covers, and this clearly looks more like Norman the Normie. I don't see it. Yeah, it's a par for Adams. When chase it, too many goblins now. Yeah, I don't. That's just it. I don't think anybody does. If they're like me, I'm just frustrated with Spider-Man in general, let alone his universe. Trap all the way to the dumpster. Well, maybe. We definitely for sure. Gordon's saying they're pretty good reads, though. Well, there you go. More goblins than Robins. Only thing that they have more of than goblins is symbiotes. So that's just the way it is. Waiting for Plaid Goblin. Hey, Kenneth, what is going on? Just beat a dead horse. Yeah. Pretty much. I think there's more symbiotes than goblins, but it's close. And I think Venom is in this book. I think they got Normie and Dylan going teaming up. So there you go. Next, we got a carryover from last week. Oh, no, we don't. Next, we got ahead of myself. We got SpiderMan Noir, first appearance of SpiderMan Noir. Supposedly, this is hitting the list not because of Across the Spider-Verse and maybe him showing up again, but because Amazon supposedly greenlit a series. Right now, raw copies are 225 to 300. 9.8 is going 450 to 500. And this just screams. I just remember what Silk Books went for when they first announced the Amazon series for Silk. And I know where Silk Books are now. And I wrote down this. But I think it's probably actually closer to that based on the Silk prices. But we'll stick with my initial prediction of it. I'll be back. But yeah. these Amazon series being produced by Sony. Does anyone, I mean, really? Do we have any trust in Sony after Morbius and everything else? I realize the animated movie has been good, but everything else is like, ugh. This is money all the way. Cool character. Okay, where's the Fuchsia Goblin? Mighty Morphin Power Goblins. I didn't look at the variant. This is the one that they put on the list. This is the only one I looked at. I'll be honest. I'm sure it's doing higher probably. I don't actually know. I don't know this book very well in terms of the variant. But yeah, to me I put it as an I'll be back because it is a character that carried a lot of love anyway. But I don't put any trust in this series doing anything with this. It has been steady, but steady slightly lower than it is now. That's why I put it as an I'll be back, is it'll go back to where it was. Morbid Noir. True. They did do The Last of Us. You are correct. But they have a better track record with other projects than they do with Spidey projects. Looks kind of dark there, man. Where I'm at, or are you talking about the SpiderMan Noir? All right, next. This is our carryover from last week. Weird War Tales, number 93. First appearance of the Creature Commandos. Last week it was around 100 for a raw copy on average. I said it was a trap. Now it's $150 to $200 from this 1980 book on raw copies. 9.4 all the way up to 5 to 525. That's the highest graded version that's been selling. And I'm going to be perfectly honest. I don't care if there's an animated series coming. I don't care if it's coming out in 6 months. None of these characters are unique. They're all takeoffs of other characters that everyone has the rights to. I'm sorry. If you're paying $200 for Weird War Tales, number 1, that's a dumpster fire. At 100, I thought it was a trap. I think this is a dumpster fire. Maybe I'm wrong based on the timing of whenever the animated series comes out. Puts me wrong in 6 months. But I think, particularly once that series comes and goes, that's an absolute dumpster fire. There is no way. Long-term trap. I think at a minimum, it's a trap. I think long-term, it is I think it's a $30, $40 book long-term. And that's if the series is good and people like it. We'll see this dumpster fire here for weeks. Yeah. Dude, at $200, at $150 to $200, I'd be tempted to move that sucker. Well, where London is going for that. Well, there you go. But yeah, I would not. I would be avoiding this book right now at all costs. That's just me. And then we got the Creature Commandos on the list again for a week, second week in a row. As we talked about the animated series, this one's their first solo. This is last week. I said at 20, it was probably a trap, that it would probably go back to being a $5 to $10 book. At 40 to 60, I am just like with the other book. I think this is way too high now. Yeah, I don't believe, and I am wrong, sir. There you go. I could be. So people are disagreeing with me. All I know is the vast majority of those books related to the What If show didn't hold. I don't see this holding. I don't see this actually having nearly this high demand later. Is that the Lady Frankenstein? I don't know who that is. I know there's a Lady Frankenstein, which we're going to get to here in just a second. Bride of, something like that. Which is the next book, which is Seven Soldiers Frankenstein, number 3, which is the first appearance of Lady Frankenstein, or the Bride of Frankenstein in the DC version here. This one's going for 25 to 30. As a guest that she'll be part of this cast that goes in here. This one I'm not going quite as far. At 25 to 30, I'm saying a trap that, $15 book in 6 months. But Yeah. Or Bears Creatures, maybe. Yeah. Unless you find one that you're wrong. I appreciate that. I would not. I just have seen at this point, having watched all the Marvel stuff, the way all the Marvel stuff is reacted after the shows and everything else. Ultimately, it's moved the needle, but not really that much. And I just don't see I don't see characters like this holding. I just don't. And so I would definitely go away from. Did the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen work on? They didn't work as a movie. I know they're trying to do that again, but it works as a comic book. But did it work as a movie or a TV show? Not that I know of, unless I missed something. Yeah, Young Frankenstein is quality. Like again, I'm not judging the comic itself. I'm talking about like its value relative based on the show, which everybody's going for. All right. Last of our book. No, that was the last of our CBSI books. So that was the last of our CBSI books. So those are the 10. So what I did, like last week, there were 8 over of the 20 key collector trending 20. There were 8 books that were also on the CBSI list. So I picked another 5, thinking, all right, if 5 or 6 of those will be over. Well, it turned out there were 6 that carried between the 2 video, but to Tom's video. So there's only 4. So I had 1 extra that I didn't need, but I got the 4 right. So we'll see how well I do this week. I picked 7 books this week because there's only 5. There is 5 overlaps again, but I picked 7 books, figuring between 3 and 4 or 5 books maybe. We'll see how well I do. Last week I got them all. All the ones that Tom had that weren't on the CBSI list I got, plus I had an extra. We'll see how I do this week. These are the 7 books. Looking at his list, I figure he'll probably talk about. I could be completely wrong. I'll probably be way wrong. For sure. Next. So these are guesses. None of these may show up in Tom's video. Although none of them may, because there's only 7. So we'll see. Criminal number 1, another series option by Amazon. This one's only going for like 10 to 25, unlike that butterfly thing that was going for 80. This seems a lot more realistic to me in terms of value, but I still would put it as an I'll be back. Again, I'm guessing on whether or not these will show up on Tom's video. They may not. He may pick completely different ones. So these are just ones I pulled off the key collector list that I thought, might give me a chance to. We can talk about a few more, and hopefully a few of them would be great. I know a lot of people love this series. Think it's a really good read. We'll see when an Amazon show comes out of it. At that point, it might be worth it, but in between, I think it's an I'll be back. I think you can find it for less. There you go. Yeah, definitely been out for years. You can definitely find this one. He's saying ultimately a trap. It's only at 10 to 25 right now. So I feel like at that, I think it's, if it's a $5 to $15 book, then it's still kind of just an I'll be back, just based on the range. So next, because Tom loves to talk about this book and talks about it all the freaking time, we have Micronauts number 1 on here again, and this is all based on the rumors that some version of these characters, although technically I don't know that Marvel has the full rights, because there was talking about somebody else, like Paramount or somebody, making a movie out of this a few years ago. But there's rumors that there's going to be some version of the Micronauts in Ant-Man, so that's why this is on the list. $10 to $30 for raw copies, which is still down from some of the previous peaks. 140 to 175 on 9.8. Mind you, I had to get values for these because Key Collector doesn't really put good values in his trending 20 list. So I don't know what Tom's going to say. So I had to look up the actual value. So it'd be interesting to see what Tom puts now that I know what they were selling for. This is another small spike will drop. Yes, this is absolutely fun book. Yeah. So, drop over small bike. There you go. It never happens. Yeah. So to me, this is an I'll be back. Just based on going back to where it's been. Like, it just does it. It's been doing this. Tom's been putting this book on the list. They've been talking about this book for years now, and it just kind of, it'll spike and then it goes right back. Then it spikes and it goes right back. That's what I think it'll do again this time. Next we have Avengers 267. So rumors that we might not just get one version of Kang, we'll get multiple versions of Kang. I find that hard to believe in this first one, but this is the first appearance of the Council of Kangs. I mean, I know we already got He Who Remains in the Loki show. I think we're getting Conqueror in this one. I don't know that we're going to get like Immortus or any of the other versions in this particular movie. I feel like that's something they're going to set up through the next couple, but we will definitely see where this goes. This book's doing 15 to 45 right now for raw copies, with most of the sales 25 to 35 kind of thing. That 20 to 35 maybe is more accurate. Raw copies obviously dependent on condition. 9.8, 225 to 290. Knowing the movie's about to come out, always, even though we know we're going to get more of him, this has been a consistent pattern with Marvel. It's an I'll be back. Wait till, even though we know the character is coming back, there will be a dip after the movie. There absolutely will. It happens every time. And I would definitely wait on this for sure. Every King book is that pretty much. Yeah. It's not a good time necessarily to buy. Yeah, it is back on the list. It is definitely, there you go. Run of Avengers. It was a good book back then. So read Hawkman 27, Phillips and Brewbakers. 3 of these a year back for $2.50. 1 for $8. Nice. Thanks, Vinny. Need that. We're gonna need that today. Stern, Butch Simmons, run the seller. Yeah. Next, again, reminder. I don't know that these books will be on Tom's list. These are just my predictions based on the trending 20 list from Key Collector. Look at Cap in the bottom right. Yeah. There you go. Next, we got, where am I at? Oh, Captain America. This seems like a book that Tom will talk about. Captain America, number 139, the first appearance of Lila Taylor. And basically, we got rumors that this character is being cast for Captain America 4. $10 to $40 on raw copies on this, but then there was a sale of $100 for a raw copy of this. Somebody put near mint, somebody paid $100. That sale seems a little unlikely. Have to question that when no other sales were above 40. Or we're right at 40, the high sales. If we're talking like the $10 to $40 thing, this is definitely like an I'll be back to a trap in terms of, if you're paying the 10 to 20 side, you're probably fine. If you're paying the 30 to 40 side, it's a trap. I would put this sucker, I would definitely be back on this one for sure. It would not be chasing this book. How important is this love interest going to be? We'll see. For those who don't know, Lila Taylor is the love interest of Falcon, and that is why they're talking about her being in the book. More Cap. Cap Cop. Yeah. So I paid $100 for raw. That's an absolute dumpster fire for sure. That $100 is. I feel the first appearance of Bucky is due. Yeah. That book hasn't been on the list for a while. The first Winter Soldier hasn't been on the list for a while, I should say. First appearance of Bucky is very expensive and always is, because it's also the first appearance of Cap. So yeah, that's always a big book. Next, we went back to the Stormwatch number 37. The first Jenny Sparks, Jank Hawksmore. I put this on the list again just because of the authority stuff. Last week it was. I also talked about it because I thought it was interesting, because last week when we talked about it, it was 50 to 60. And I went back and looked, and all the sales were basically 50 to 60 after the initial announcement. Now it's 25 to 60. So this book is already becoming an I'll be back / trap from the values of last week in week 2. I still think it's a trap for anybody that pays bigger values on this thing. Like, if you're paying more than the low end, the $25, $30 end on this, I think you're still walking into a trap. For sure. Yeah, I left this as a trap. I said it was a trap last week at 50 to 60, and it's already becoming that. You're already getting it for $25, $30. Uh-oh, we got a Eagles fan in here. I tell you. I wish you good luck, but I don't mean it. Not today. So there you go. I'm not going to lie. I don't mean it today. I'd say I'm hoping for a good game, but not really. I hope my Chiefs win in a blowout and I can just celebrate the whole time. But I think it'll actually be a good game. I think it'll be a good game. So, one face with different wings. Which, yeah. Truly, I meant, yeah. So, where did I start watching this thing? I'm sure he appreciates it. I'm sure he appreciates your thanking him. So, 2 more books next. Again, this is just me guessing what might show up on Tom's video. We got Batman Battle for the Cowl #3. This is the first Damian Wayne as Robin. This is surprising to me a little bit. I didn't really know this was the first time he was Robin, so that could be part of it. Maybe a lot of people didn't know. Given what his first appearances and stuff go for, it's only a $5 to $15 book right now. Even with them talking about it being hot after the announcement of the Damian Wayne Robin movie, it's only a $5 to $15 book. To me, that's, dude, if you're getting first Damian Wayne as Robin for $10, I think that's worth it, especially if it's a nice, great copy at $15. Yeah, this is the villains cover. They're connecting covers. Battle for the Cowl 1, 2, and 3 are all connecting. And for me, first Damian as Robin for like 10 to 15. Five-Face is still saying Mousetrap. Where's it going to go down to? Like 5? I mean, yeah, you spend an extra $5? I don't know. That seems like there were no 9.8 sales. None on eBay going back way past the announcement. I went back, I want to say early January, and there were no 9.8 sales of this. So it really wouldn't do any good because 9.8 wouldn't recognize the announcement at that point, but there were no 9.8 sales to look up. I doubt there's very many on the census, I would guess. So I think it's just kind of been an overlooked Damian book, probably. So I would say, yeah, this is one I would absolutely think is worth it at $10. I get that. But that's a really highly printed book compared to probably Battle of the Cowl. You're talking late 80s. There's a lot of those. And but you're not wrong, but again, I said worth it. I didn't say straight cash. I said worth it means it's going to stay basically there, which is $10 to $15. Straight cash would mean I think it's going to go to like 30, 40. I don't think it's going to do that. I think it's going to stay a $10, $15 book. I think you're probably fine. So, I don't know which Ellis book we're talking about, but sure. Maybe not. Only hurts a little. This is true. Only hurts a little. So, this is true. All right, last but not least of the books I picked out. We'll see if they jump. We got Convergence Superman #2. First appearance of John Kent as a baby. So supposedly there's rumors that this younger Superman that James Gunn wants to do is going to be John Kent. I thought even he had already said that no, that was not the case, that's not what he was doing. But supposedly that's the rumor again. So that's caused this book to jump back up to 20 to 45 when it's been typically about a 20. Now it's a $20 to $45 book. 9.8 is 2 to 250. This is absolutely an I'll be back. It's the baby issue, which usually isn't the book that people want, but in this case, I guess this is the obvious one to pick. And B, I don't think that's where he's going. I could have swore he said something that no, that's not what he was doing. He just wanted a different clean slate with Superman. So, for sure. Why is Batman always creeping? Because he's Batman. That's just what he does. So again, there's a difference between long-term quality of the book and short-term. Here's a peak. Let's avoid that peak and do an I'll be back. To me, an I'll be back priced about right, but you can probably do better if you're patient. So, There you go. Demi Moore cover with Superman on it. The extremely heavy son. There you go. That's a good question. That's a good question. How did Lois carry a super baby? But he kicked. Of course, he hadn't been exposed to the sun yet. So, well, I guess only through her. So, yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting. My guess is in reality, she wouldn't have survived. But there you go. See, Heat Vision. There you go. So those are the books I picked. I picked 7 books that I thought were likely for him to talk about. We'll see. I could be completely wrong. He might talk about. Between those 7 and the 5 that carry over, there's 12 of the 20 key collector trending. So at worst, I will have gotten 2 of them. And I'll have 8 different books to talk about. I don't think that's what I'm going to think. Like through it, yeah, you could, I guess. Gross, but sure. So that is it. We're at 40 minutes, which is my usual about time on these. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me on a Sunday, on Super Bowl Sunday. Yeah, you can see my Chiefs. I'm going to go root for my Chiefs. Eat food I probably shouldn't. Do all the fun things we do on Super Bowl. And try not to get too nervous as I hope my Chiefs win. And if you're a Phillies fan, I hope you're sad. I feel bad about saying that. I don't want to be sad. So there you go. You're here just in time for me to say, later, everybody. Oh, no, you're not. You're here too early because I went the wrong way on my scrolling. Bye.